This is Eric.
This is Devin.
And this is Jared.
We are at
my worst.
This is the Midwest Mixtape Podcast.
Hey guys, this is the JSTN from the barn, and we are on the Midwest Mixtape Podcast with our friends at My Worst. How's it going, guys?
Super.
Pretty good.
Pretty good time all around. Happy to be here.
Good. So we've got you guys in here to talk about, of course, your music and obviously for your involvement with Notes for Hope, because that's what we've been doing all month long. We've just been pumping out all the material we can about Notes for Hope. So just real quick, the show that you guys can catch them at most recently, I believe, is this going to be your next show?
This is our next show.
Okay.
We actually don't have anything booked after this, currently.
So the next show is going to be the 8th Annual Notes for Hope. It's happening September 9th at 12 a.m. I said a.m., 12 p.m. at the Park Hills Underground. It's $12 in advance, $10 at the door. There will be craft vendors. It's an all-ages event, and you can catch these guys at My Worst, or Gregory Camp, The Doubted, Holding Ground, Skylines The Limit, The Stars Go Out, Degenerate and Deezyman, Y, Juge, Ben Diesel, Party Crashers, King of Vagabonds, Alex Casnell and the Board of Directors, and, of course, our boss man, Keith Hafner. You know, he's all right.
He's an all right dude. Okay.
So we're here to talk about, like, your music, mental health, things like that. So I've got some simple questions that I've kind of asked everybody. What does mental health mean to each of you individually?
Specifically coming from a lyrical standpoint, a lot of my lyrics that I write are very derivative of the mental health scene. I think No Strings on Me is the biggest one that, I don't know, I get kind of uncomfortable playing it most places because it's very big on the suicide theme. It's, as far as any songs that we write, though, it's more, I'm always writing in a terribly dark place.
That's the At My Worst.
Yeah, that's why, that's the name, the sponsor. That's where it comes from.
You know, though, the thing about, first off, it's okay to not be okay.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the big phrase that's been thrown around. And it is, because, I mean, you can't have your At My Worst days without having your At My Best days, and vice versa. You know, if you didn't have bad days and good days, you just have days.
Exactly. You gotta mix up the emotions, man. Nobody's happy all the time.
Exactly. And, you know, one thing, talking about At My Worst, your guys' name, and talking about, you know, your music, a lot of it you write at your worst state. There's beauty in that. You know, I think I myself find more about myself, and I end up using more motivation from being at the worst times in my life, and I think a lot of people are like that. I think that's a very relatable thing. I mean, could you agree with that?
Well, absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Yep.
You see, the thing of it is, when we wrote the first album, it was pretty much every song on that album is sad themes, things like what's happening. The entirety of writing Vice Versa was all, majority of the lyrics are sad. They're more depressing, stuff like that, and they're kind of coming from past experiences or just scenarios I've made up. Spoiler alert, second album is not that. It's going to be more about being angry, and that's pretty much all lyrical themes of the second album.
All about being angry.
Oh yeah, I mean, the first album was really finding sound. So once we found the sound, we've now realized that it's not, because we tried to get heavy and then light and then heavy. Now we're just heavy. It's a weird train we've followed.
So, what does mental health mean to you guys?
As far as with music, it's one of the most important elements of writing to me, because just different stuff pours out of you, you know, when you're feeling different, especially when you're angry and when you're sad. Is just a completely different ball game than when you're happy. I personally get my best stuff from anger and sadness days.
Yeah, honestly, you're your own biggest critic, and that comes really hand in hand with music writing. Is you're going to be, every time you write something, you're going to say, hey, that sounds terrible. Hey,
Right.
I'm not happy with how that sounds. You're going to be a critic towards that. But coming from feelings and all related to the mental health spectrum, is however you're feeling is how you're going to write, and that really shows on your music. And my music, the lyrics weren't written to make people sad. It was more to realize that other people feel how you're feeling. It's more of a turning point. I'm not trying to be the, hey, everybody be sad. I'm trying to be, hey, other people are, so it's all right.
Right, and if you relate to people, then people can relate back to it, and then that's how people heal together. There's probably a good reason why you got into music in the first place, and it's probably because it helped you do what you're trying to convey right now and connect to people. You connected to music. It probably helped you through hard times, or maybe pumped you up in good times, and that's why you got into it. Is that sound right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, music's every mood. You can find a song for every single mood that you have. So
music is the universal language for the soul.
I agree with that. That's a great way of putting it, and I can't make it sound that smart.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even matter if you can understand the lyrics or not. You can still understand the emotion that's being conveyed through the sound of the song.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's kind of like the opposite of the Tower of Babel when it comes to people, because everybody's separated by language barriers and things like that. But music, there is no barrier. You say and play whatever you want, and people connect to it based on if they're feeling the same way or not.
Because any genre, anybody who writes any type of music, they all have feelings. They're all going for a certain mood. It doesn't matter if you're listening to country, metal, or rap. They all are trying to convey a message one way or another.
Exactly. And so, what does mental health mean to you? And I just want to throw out that when I mean what does mental health mean to you, musically connected is important, but it doesn't necessarily have to be musically connected.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for me, it's very musically connected, because I feel like if I'm ever in a bad place, I can I grab the old guitar, go in a room, and I feel like I get it all out.
Mm-hmm.
And some of my best writing, I feel like, has come from when I'm not in a very good place, or if I'm just pissed off at the world or anything like that. I feel like I can really get those emotions out in what I'm trying to convey onto the guitar. And like, if anybody is struggling with mental health and they don't have anywhere to channel it, I would suggest maybe trying to learn an instrument or do some kind of vocals or something.
Which is funny that you say that, because Keith actually just spoke to us last week about which the episode aired today. So if you guys want to check that out, Keith actually mentioned that they are going to do a raffle, and it's going to have basically a guitar and a starter kit for whoever who ends up being involved. And so basically this will be somebody's first guitar, somebody's first outlet.
That
to
is awesome.
That is awesome.
And we've got our good buddy Chad in the studio. What's going on, Chad?
Man.
What's up, internets?
Yeah, so mental health therapy and stuff is super important, and you guys mentioned music helping you. So I mean, to me, music is a form of therapy. Art in general is therapy, and there are other forms of therapy, like BetterHelp, which the Barn's sponsored by, and then Everest Counseling, which is also, we're sponsored by that also. They're sponsoring Notes for Hope. And then you have benefit concerts and stuff like Notes for Hope, who are raising money to try to help people be more accessible to these entities and other forms. And then, of course, there's other forms of therapy, like having a support system, having people to talk to, and, of course, having your outlets like your music and your drawing and dancing, or, whatever it may be, even sports, whatever it may be for the individual person. Those things are super important. And this is one thing that I brought up every interview so far, is the fact that mental health therapy is kind of like exercise for your brain, and when you're gonna work on your body, you're gonna go you're gonna go diet, you're gonna go, whatever it is, gastric sleeve, or you're gonna go work out in the gym, whatever that is. Well, that's all fine and good, but working out your brain is just as important, if not more important. And that's where therapy comes in, you know, and again, therapy, there's many wide varieties of doing that, and it's like exercising your brain.
I think the reason we relate so much to music has always been for me, and I think it's kind of a sad reality of things, is not everybody can afford a certain type of therapy. It's not easily accessible at most times, so finding your own outlet for it in a different way really helps people out. But music has always been it for me. I don't think I'd ever relate to a therapist. I think I'd never vibe with them, and that was my biggest thing with it, is even if I could go to one, I'd never met this person. I think therapy's a great thing, and you should try it if it's something you want to do. But personally, it's just, I would rather go through music or some sort of art to help me.
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's also nothing wrong with, you know, having more than one outlet, too.
Oh, yeah, you can go through multiple. It's the more the better, the most that you need, because, you know, we want everyone around.
And how old are you guys again?
I'm 25.
26.
26.
Okay, so you guys are just only a couple years younger than me. I'm 28. So I found out the past couple years, the older you get, kind of, the more passions you find. You know, I'm still doing music and things like that, but I kind of slowed the brakes on it a little bit because I started discovering podcasting and the radio and stuff like that. And that's been super, super therapeutic to me. And, you know, plenty of people I know who are musicians have found other outlets also, like art and things like that, which is why it's cool that we have crafts and stuff going to be at Notes for Hope.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're just opening up to so many different forms of art. And that's super cool. We spoke to the Doubted last week, and their member, Josh, the singer, I think it's Josh. Could have been Josh.
Josh is a vocalist.
So he was in, I believe, baseball and like a little bit of like football and stuff. And he said that if he wasn't doing music, he might probably be doing something like that. So
you know what the sad thing is that I talk to those guys all the time, and I have no idea what they do outside of the band. It's very sad.
That's the cool thing about doing these interviews, is kind of digging a little bit deeper. So anyway, talking about going in a little bit deeper, I think we're going to go ahead and go into our first music break.
Yep.
And so we're going to listen to Plastic Memories. This is Plastic Memories by At My Worst.
Wrapped up in paralyzed, I can't imagine the stages, blinding lights. I'm bound by questions I can't even show you. Put an end to this opening act, the creaking floor, dragging towards another attack. You put on quite the fucking show, but I really go spending the nights all alone, indulging in your pheromones. Let me fall asleep with the plastic memory. Tied in the dark to atone, mistakes out of pure flesh and bone. Let me fall asleep with this. Lights, camera, action, hooked on the passion. My mind is locked on game, set, and match. You have to adore every part of the floor. Another infested hatch. Let it open slightly. You blow right back like a sudden burst to the head. Don't take this lightly.
All right, and that was once again Plastic Memories by At My Worst. You guys want to tell me a little bit about that song, kind of the story behind the lyrics, how the song came to be, the idea of how you guys started it?
Plastic Memories was, like the 7th song we wrote. It was more, like I said, with the first album, we kind of tried to balance the heavy and the light. So we had 2 or 3 on there that were much lighter, and then the rest were more heavy. Plastic it's become really the ladies' song, because every time we go there, it's just, they're the ones who enjoy it the most. I think that's the one these days. That's the one we get told to play the most. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think
It's
so.
I think it is our lightest song, other than Father Time, the Unspeakable.
Every band has one.
Yeah, it's fun. It's neat. It's a fast song.
I like to
enjoy
call it the panty dropper. every band's got the one.
And the weird thing about it is the lyrics of that song are actually about terrible relationships. So I don't know if you relate to that. I guess that's why they like it so much.
It's actually kind of a weird song from my perspective because it's one of the ones where you just sent a complete vocal track
Oh yeah.
and we just wrote music to it. Those are pretty weird to work on.
I think those are probably the hardest to work on, but usually they're the most fulfilling, I think.
That one was a shower thought, I think. I wrote that like out of the shower one day, and you just took it and ran with it.
I always like those because it's completely unpredictable where they end up, and it
Blood Feud.
Yeah. And it's
Which Blood Feud played in the intro, so
Blood Feud was also a sent vocals over and said, "Here, have fun with this."
and we did have fun with
We
that.
had
They
a lot
wrote
of fun
that for
writing that.
weeks.
That
That
took
was-
so long. Zero timing in that whole song.
I don't know
We
what
had to put
timing is.
Timing in it for Devin.
I don't believe in timing. I think it's made up.
Mm-hmm.
oh, you think time is an abstract construct created by the man.
Personally, yes, but music related, every time I write something and you guys say it doesn't have timing, I don't get it because it sounds fine to me.
And that's okay. We take care of it.
All right,
Sure
cool,
do.
whatever.
Every song has a timing.
It works itself out because Blood Feud and Plastic being written that way, those are two of my absolute favorites for sure.
Yeah, that's what you get.
I agree. I
Screw
think
your
I like
timing.
I like the guitar that I wrote in Plastic almost better than most of the other songs that we've written because there's not a spot in that song that I'm just like holding on open chords or I'm doing anything boring. That song just from the time it stops to the time it's from the time it starts to the time it stops. Yeah, I'm just going the whole time.
That
It's a very fun song to play.
that piano in it is like one of my favorite things on the album. That's just so cool. I love the piano, and then it kicks back in, and the rappy part, which isn't really rappy. I really enjoy it.
Rhythmatic.
Yeah, like that. My favorite thing about that song, I think, was when we were doing it for the first time. Jared actually looked over at me and he goes, "How do you freaking hold your breath that long?" It was great to me.
Yeah, it definitely probably takes quite a bit of practice. So going back on, we talked about the song. I want to go back on your name. I'm kind of going to use it a little bit because it helps with connecting the mental health and stuff like that. So with your name, At My Worst, a question I've been asking everybody, and I want to ask you guys individually again, what advice would you give somebody who's going through a mental health crisis right this second?
If you have family, talk to family. If you have friends, talk to friends. Go places, do things, get out of your house, pick up hobbies. Just be open as a person, generally speaking.
Oh yeah, always talk to somebody. You know, even if it's a stranger, you know, you never know when a stranger might be listening.
Right.
Realistically, there's nobody in the world that has no one. I feel like there's always somebody there for you, and the easiest thing you can do is reach out to somebody you know, absolutely. But if that doesn't work for you and you just don't want to talk to anybody, find an outlet for it. Find something to take your brain off of whatever's bothering you, because if you can take your brain off it long enough, you're gonna forget for the time being. It might be in the back of your head all the time, but you're gonna find something.
And it always finds its way back,
It
but
will.
usually when it does, it's in a moment of clarity.
Yes, so you can kind of reflect on why you felt that way and what's going on, but never just stay by yourself. It's never a good thing to do when you're feeling in a dark place and you just push yourself away from everybody. It doesn't help the situation. You got to reach out and be around somebody you can trust.
Right. And I know this is probably harder for you because you've already heard two answers, but what do you have for the question?
What I had was me as a guy. For a long time I thought I don't want to like talk to anybody. That's not very masculine. Like you're supposed to hide your emotions and be the strong person in every situation. But it's not healthy to do in the long term, because that stuff weighs on you, and there's nothing wrong with going to somebody and talking to somebody, be it family, friends, random stranger. There's people you can call. There's ways to get help for whatever you need. Like we talked about, like therapy earlier. You can go with that, and there's nothing wrong with it, even if you're a man, woman, whatever.
Yeah, and kind of going on with that, I've mentioned at a couple of the other podcasts about Notes for Hope. One big thing is, of course, kids and women have their own struggles with mental health, but being 4 men in a room right now, I think we can all talk about the fact that, speaking for the fact that men's mental health is super important, just like it is for women and children. But I feel like sometimes it's a little bit more overlooked than women and children, because men are always taught to bottle things up and just be the man and, provide and protect and, serve and do the things that you've got to do. And you're supposed to, focus on the woman and children and make sure that they're happy and healthy.
It's a huge misconception, because majority of the people who have mental problems are male, and I don't think it's broad. I don't think it's talked about enough. I don't think it'll ever be talked about enough. Obviously, everybody has problems, but there are guys out there who will bottle it and never let anything out, because they're afraid the minute they say something, they're going to be seen as weak. Someone's not going to like them.
Made fun of.
It's horrible.
Yeah, there's actually one quote, I'm going to paraphrase it, though, because I don't remember the exact quote that I heard. I read it recently, was one reason why a lot of men never talk about their feelings, they bottle stuff up, is whenever they do show that vulnerability, or even if they cry or anything like that, women, whether they know it or not, typically tend to have less respect for the man in that moment. And I think it's all because it's been systematically brought up to where they're supposed to respect you because you're this hard person who protects and provides and stuff like that. And I think we gotta break down the barrier. People say that they throw the word around toxic masculinity, but here's what I'm telling you: everybody in every group has a bad egg that would be categorized as toxic. There's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's either masculinity or not masculinity, but that individual person could be a toxic person.
I'm not trying to discredit anybody, but you've got a great point there. Being toxic isn't related to a gender by any means, and it feels like males in particular are not allowed to do a lot of things because they will be seen as weak, and I don't think it'll ever be talked about enough that it's a giant problem for males.
I completely agree. I am currently going through a divorce myself, and I've got 2 young boys that I'm trying to teach these lessons to. And I've been there at that phase where I bottled it up and didn't say what I should have said and things like that. And it really takes a toll on not just you, but the people around you too. It's always better to talk about it. If
you don't, this is just my advice to any male out there listening. Like I said, not to discredit anybody. Everybody has their own problems. But if you bottle it up, it's going to destroy you. It will tear you down. Don't worry about somebody seeing you as weak, because who cares what anybody thinks but yourself, to be honest. It's just, but if you keep it inside and you act like you can't do anything just because you're supposed to be this rough and tough, I play in the dirt, I drive a tow truck 10 hours a year, that's not enough. That's like 10 hours a minute, probably. If you act like that, it's going to be terrible for your mental health in the long run. It doesn't help.
Oh, yeah. And like you said, it's probably never going to get talked about, but that's kind of one of the bullet points I'm kind of trying to throw out there a little bit more, because you're right. It is probably, there are more men who are going through a mental health crisis than women. And even with women, the leading with women seems to be trauma.
Yeah.
And most of those cases tend to be because they were in a relationship or had a relationship, like a father or a brother or somebody in their life who bottled things up or didn't handle their mental health correctly, and then they took it out on the people around them, and those women got caught in the crossfire, unfortunately, and created those traumas. So even if you're looking at it at, you know, trying to compare men and women, which that's not what I'm trying to do here.
No, yeah.
It's women's health is just as important as men's health.
Absolutely.
I just think men's health isn't as talked about as much, and even like you said, more men do typically seem to have more mental health issues, and even their mental health issues seem to be causing more problems with the other gender.
It works full
or
circle.
with children. Exactly.
It really does. I mean, everybody's affecting everybody because we just don't talk about it enough. And I encourage you, if you're somebody who wants to come to this show, stick around for our set, because one of our main messages is just, well, we want you to get angry. We want you to fight. We want you to talk about this stuff. Convey what you want to feel. You know, don't be afraid to let loose in front of us, because we're here for you.
Yeah. And it's perfectly okay to be angry, too. You know, just like it's okay to not be okay. That includes anger. It's okay to be angry. It's just all about how you project your anger.
Yeah, I would rather you come and start a pit, or, you know, kick me in the teeth even. I don't care. Just, you know, handle it how you want.
Just don't disrespect your surroundings.
Well, I mean, you could do that. Just don't do it at the underground, because they'll probably yell at me.
Do it in a safe, controlled environment. You know, go to a rage room, and man, I tell you, I've been seeing all kinds of those. I'd love to go to a rage room and just let it all out. And things like that are super important. And it's like that and like axe throwing and stuff. That's cool shit. That's one outlet that men have, you know, going and letting out that anger. You know, just go to a rage room and just destroy the place. You know, people are getting paid to clean up after it anyway, and you're paying them to allow you to destroy everything. Just go in there and disrespect your surroundings.
When I was
It'll be a day you remember.
There you go. When I was younger, we had a junkyard next to my house, and as a child, full of what I thought were big problems in the world, I would just go smash windows and mirrors, and that was the biggest thing I loved to do. So I would honestly go to a rage room. I feel like it'd bring back some childhood memories for sure.
There you go. I actually always wanted to film a music video like in a rage room. I think that would be really cool. Just have one angry song. You guys are talking about, that could be an idea for you. You're talking about your next album having a lot of anger. Consider, if you do a music video, trying to rent out a rage room and just, you know, go crazy for
we need
part
to
of the
pay
music
this
video.
Man. Pay this man.
He has all the ideas.
He has all the ideas. No, Mr. Moneybags, you go ahead. You pay him.
I do pride myself on my ideas, I suppose.
Hey, you have our contact info if you have more.
I'll throw you some. I got ideas. Okay, so origin story. How did you guys get together?
You guys can start that, because it was you before it was me and Darren.
Go ahead.
All right, so, well, we started a long time ago in high school, and it was just me and Eric, and we weren't called At My Worst quite yet. We were called something very cringy, but we played at our high school talent show.
Tell them the name.
Do I have to?
You have to.
Diamond Departure. What the hell does it mean? I don't know, but anyway.
I think that actually might be before that time in the band.
Were we Eternal Stalemate then?
I think so.
Oh,
We've had
we've
a
had a couple.
Here you go. I've got a fake story for you guys. So I like to turn phrases, right? That's part of my songwriting process, even. So you said it was Diamond Departure?
Yeah.
Okay, that kind of translates to At My Worst. And you want to know how?
How?
Because diamonds are these things formed in pressure, and that's what you as a person are. You are a diamond who you're created based on the pressure that was built around you, and you're departing from that of yourself, and that brings you to the worst state of your life.
You guys all had this plan from the start.
We've had it planned since high school. Yes.
That was always the thought behind it. I could have never relayed it the way he just did.
There you go. I've got a fake story that you guys can tell people if they ask you about how you got from Diamond Departure to At My Worst.
I need to segue for a minute, though. It used to be called Eternal Stalemate, and then you made me have a song named that's about a giant rat.
For a very short time, it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was like a tribute name for that song.
And you brought it back.
Sure did. We always liked the name, so we figured might as well make it a song.
You know what? Continue. I'm kind of upset.
Anyway, well, we were all, me and Eric, we played like drums and guitar. We messed around for a long time, but we never really, I don't know if we wrote any more than like one full song at a time, and then a year would go by and we'd forget it. So we were never super serious or anything until after high school, whenever one night we was all together, because we've all been friends for a while. We were all together and we just kind of decided, hey, we know Darren used to play guitar, I wonder if he could play bass. And we knew Devin messed around with vocals. We said, let's try this. And then we formed.
All in pretty terrible times in our life.
Yeah.
I think that's where because I suggested the name, didn't I?
Yeah.
Because you wanted to call us King Crab.
Or Caesar's Pal Ace. That was a good one.
And that doesn't make any damn sense, but sure. Yeah, I mean, from my standpoint, I think it was the worst time of my life when I met these guys. And that's why I threw the name out there. It's just sort of stuck since. Much better now. Things are okay-ish. All right.
Okay. So from the last episode, I actually, of course, I talked to Y, Juge, and Keith. One thing that Y had that was pretty cool that stood out to me that I'm gonna kind of incorporate here. Y actually told us. I asked them their individual or origin stories, like how they got into music themselves, and Y had an interesting story about how he first discovered singing because he joined choir in grade school, and the reason he did was because a girl offered him a piece of gum if he would join choir with her, and so he did over a piece of gum. And he credits some girl he doesn't even remember her name from grade school giving him a piece of gum, and that gum started his music career. So do you guys have any interesting stories like that, like kind of a connection of why you got into music? And it doesn't have to be anything, as it's specific as that, but
I will say, when you get famous, you better pay that girl. Why?
So individually, like, do you guys have any, like, your story, like why you decided to pick up your instrument? Like I said, it doesn't have to be specific like Y's bubblegum story, but
there's so many people in my family that played instruments or sang or something along those lines when I was little. I don't know why drums was the thing that kind of stood out to me, but it did. So I started that on a bunch of like jerry cans and old like lockers with sticks. Then it turned into drums and kind of evolved into actually kind of being able to play drums. And then playing covers with other people, that really made it a little different because you start feeling something. And then when you get to writing originals, it's really something magical for me. The creativity aspect of it is just crazy.
it's like magic.
Could be. I think the weirdest part about how I got into vocals is just I could do them. This is going to sound fake and like I'm showing off, and this is terrible because somebody out there probably thinks I sound like shit, and that's okay. I respect your opinion. But one day, I just listened to metalcore all the time. It was kind of my thing. I loved how they could scream and do that stuff and do the growls, and I tried it when I was like 16, and I could just do it. And then from that point, it's gotten better and better. Obviously, I didn't do it well. Threw my voice out multiple times, finally learned how to do it properly.
I learned that the hard way also.
Exactly, yeah. You trial by fire, man.
Exactly.
But that's how I got into it. There was never really a specific influence. None of my family are musically involved at all.
Okay. So just singing along to music you liked.
Pretty much.
Kind of got you into.
Pretty much.
That's cool.
I want to shout out my dad real quick because he got me into all kinds of music, and he played guitar and he played bass in bands. I mean, he still plays to this day in a band, but he played in a band a long time ago called Desolate Child, and they opened up for Foghat back in the day, which was pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool.
Those dudes still rip.
Yeah.
And I hope when I'm really old I still rip.
We'll see.
Don't we all? Don't we all hope?
I need to clarify because Rich, you're going to listen to this. I'm not calling you old.
He's old. He's old. You can tell him.
Okay, well, Jared can say that. I'm not going to say that.
No, but he really got me into the guitar, and he bought me my first guitar when I don't even remember how old it was, probably 10, 11, something like that. And I've messed around with it, and he showed me the basics and started like playing covers, figuring out how to do things, and he still to this day could show me a bunch of stuff. Like if I ever have problems with something, or if like I don't know how to do something I'm trying to do on a solo for a song or something, I can go to him and he'll say, well, why don't you try to do it this way or try to do it that way. And he still has such insight that I could never reach on my own. So I very much thanks to my dad for everything, for getting me where I am.
Hell yeah.
Shout out Rich.
Yeah. Shout out to Rich. We got you in the studio here, so you're going places, obviously.
Right.
No. So Eric, you were talking about how the drums kind of drew you the most from other instruments, and I ask this to almost every drummer I see, not necessarily in interviews, but just like in general. You see, because I don't fully understand this because I'm a drummer. Well, I don't categorize myself as a drummer. I play the drums as well. I play several instruments, but I wouldn't say drumming is my primary instrument, and I think it's because of the answer to the question I'm about to ask you. As a drummer, do you kind of see life in general as like a rhythm? Do you see things as mathematically as things being in a routine, in a rhythm?
Sometimes, yeah.
See, because one thing I've noticed is a lot of drummers tend to have like a form of like OCD, where things are like categories. It's categorized and it's got to stay in like a certain rhythmatic metronome kind of style.
I mean, I do definitely have that for like fooling around with these guys.
He's mentioning me. He's going to talk about timing again.
I'm just kind of hard on them. Like when something's not, like if my ear doesn't like it, I know that's pretty selfish musically, but I call them out if something just like.
That's important though. The rhythm section is the foundation, the backbone. There would not be a song without the rhythm section.
Sure, it seems harsh, but that's just when it sticks out to me. I notice it.
Okay.
Eric is a tyrant.
A tyrant. All right. So what are your guys' individual influences, and then what are like your couple biggest influences as a band together? And I don't just mean musical influences individually. I also mean like what motivates you to do what you're doing too. It doesn't just have to be like artists or anything like that. You know, what motivates you to write music, and then also what are some of your influences that you listen to that you kind of throw into your sound?
So I was in high school a speech kid, basically an acting kid.
Okay.
Did very well at it, I think. Went to college, tried to get an acting degree, and then realized I'm in Missouri, and what the hell is an acting degree going to get me? This is kind of my outlet for that now, to still hit that, because I go a little, I'm allowed to get a little crazy up on stage and do what I like to do and kind of convey body movements. So I think my biggest influence is my failed acting career, which is really cool.
It's kind of cool you say that, because I'm also trying to get into voice acting right now. So
yeah.
I'm kind of circling back around to something like that.
See, I would love to do something like that too, but I don't even know how you get started. And then, long story short, the pipe dreams, man. I support you on that, though. I really hope you get into that.
I appreciate it.
I dig that. I like the voice. I think he got what you need, man.
You haven't even heard the other voices. We'll talk about it off air.
I thought you were going to say something weird for a minute. You were making me a little concerned.
What are you talking about?
All right, there we go. See? We could do that. As far as musically, super into Coheed and Cambria growing up.
Oh, yeah.
I grew up around Pantera, Godsmack, stuff like that. Yes. I was a nerd for them, man. Like, I bought the comic books, read everything, wanted to know everything about them, figured out the story of every song, thought I knew what they were talking about, probably bullshitted my way through half of it. So, clean singing-wise, super inspiration from Claudio. I think the first heavy band I ever listened to was like, I want to say it was like Alisana.
Okay.
And I don't listen to them anymore. I wish I did. I feel like they probably put something decent out these days. And then I really got into like hardcore, deathcore, stuff like that. Really tried to mimic those guys, but those are honestly my biggest inspiration for things. I want to sound like they do, and I'm not even close yet, and I want to be there.
Yeah. I feel you.
Well, for me, like a big inspiration is just like not musical yet, but like like getting everything that I want out on a guitar, like creatively. Like I can hear something in my head and I want to put it to the guitar really badly, and it's almost like an itch I need to scratch, you know. Like I hear something and like I'll get so focused on it I have to stop everything I'm doing to go figure out how the hell to play that, because I'm like, that sounds really cool in my head. Then I get on guitar and it sounds nothing like it. I'm like, okay, well now I gotta workshop this for 2 days and figure out how to play that I just heard in my head. So,
Right.
But other than that, like musical influences, like Killswitch Engage has been like a big influence for me. Like I've loved everything pretty much that I've ever heard from them. I don't think they really have a bad album. Like Lamb of God is also a big influence. I love a lot of their stuff. Really, any kind of 2000s metalcore is really up my alley. Like, you know, Trivium, Bullet for My Valentine, stuff like that.
Okay.
Really got me into where I'm going. So.
Kind of one of my influences for doing what I do is it's a physical outlet. I don't get to play my drums as much as I would like to, and I'm not the most dynamic player, so I'm kind of a blunt force kind of player. So I just get to kind of take my day out on the drums, and it's very nice sometimes. And as far as musical influences, me and my brother talked about this a while back. We call it the metalcore Big Four: Killswitch Engage, All That Remains, Trivium, and As I Lay Dying.
Okay.
It's probably a hot take for metalcore fans, but that's a really big influence for me.
Okay.
Shout out to our part-time guitarist, Brad Johnson.
Shout out, Brad.
Cool. And you guys, you have another member, right?
No, we have a bass player who's not here. Brad is he kind of shows up when he wants to kind of guy.
Okay. I gotcha.
When we ask him sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes we ask him. Sometimes he's just like, hey, can I do this? And then we tell him no when he shows up anyway.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm going to get us into the next music break. We're going to go ahead and play Versa by At My Worst. And we'll talk about it after the break. So that was Versa by At My Worst. Guys, you want to elaborate a little bit on that? Talk about it? Lyrics, how the song came to be, you know, the jazz?
So Versa was written pretty early. Like, I think I remember coming off with the beginning riff of it back before, I mean, like, we were still talking about being a cover band. So this was, like, very, very early days of the band. I remember coming off with that riff.
Versa was before Vice.
Yeah.
Which is strange.
Yeah, I'm trying to talk. Anyway.
Yeah, don't butt in.
Yeah, we
Devin,
come
don't
off with
butt in.
that one. We come off with that one a long time ago, but I don't think we wrote the whole song until much later. But I remember we really digged like the ending, like that end breakdown. That was like the big selling point of that song. We wrote all that and was like, that's got to be the closure of the album, because that breakdown is just so sick. Just the ending of it, and it really gets everybody pumped. It feels like every time we play that song, the crowd really likes mainly the ending of that song.
Did we spill the secret again?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I don't either. Please, if it's bad, don't.
It's not bad.
Well, then what is it?
That's why the reason they're called Vice and Versa.
Oh no, you can talk about that.
If you know, sure.
It's the same riff backwards.
Which part of the...
I don't know. I
that's
don't
what I
care.
You don't know.
So the beginning of Vice is the breakdown, which is the end of Versa, just backwards. There's a whole lot of other examples on the album of stuff flip-flop backwards and forwards, but that was like the two big ones right there.
That's why it was the theme of vice versa, this and
Right.
that, because we would flip-flop things back and forth. Different songs would be counterparts to other songs.
Another thing with that song live is it's right there with like Plastic Memories on people singing along with it with the clean parts, and that's pretty crazy since it's one of our heaviest songs.
Oh yeah.
That's why I write catchy choruses. People like catchy choruses.
And then so you guys talked about vice versa a little bit. You guys want to talk about like how the idea of the album came out, vice versa, like how the whole entire idea, like why you guys wanted to do the album in general, some of the songs that consist of it, kind of like the overall vibe of it.
We just kept writing stuff, and eventually we had so much material that we're like, screw it, we're gonna throw it on an album. And we actually, because we had Vice and Versa, and they were both filler names at the time. I think one of them was called Impact Wrench Number 3 or something. We didn't know what to call it, so we were thinking for the longest time. We're like, what means this and also that? And my girlfriend actually texted me when I asked her that, and she said vice versa. And I'm like, oh my god, that's perfect. We'll call it that. But we had 11 songs on hand, so we just threw them on an album. I mean, I think that's the way it came about.
I mean, there's quite a few examples. I don't know if anybody's ever noticed them, of a part being played, and then like later on in the song it'll get played, that same part will be backwards. Like they don't sound very similar, so I don't know if anybody caught that. Like it happens in Blood Feud.
No strings.
No strings. It also happens in No Strings in the outro with Devin. There's some cute messages.
Yeah,
where
you
he's
should play
whispering
that
at the end.
song backwards.
I don't know if anybody's done that.
No one's done that, but they should.
I'm going to now.
Absolutely should.
Okay. And I understand you guys have played like Point Fest.
We did.
So you want to tell me about like how you guys got on a Point Fest stage, and like how the road getting there, and your experience getting to play at Point Fest. Me personally, as a musician, I've always wanted to play Point Fest. I actually never did, but so I'm actually pretty envious of you doing that. That's a pretty cool accomplishment. So especially from a local band, who lives an hour south, I actually grew up in Park Hills, so I live in Farmington currently, but I actually grew up in Park Hills too, so that was kind of a dream of mine, so I get to live vicariously through you guys.
So we grew up in Cadet, majority of us.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
So we all moved here recently and in the past coming years. Actually, while we were sitting there, it was kind of funny. Some people were looking for the local Cadet band, and they walked by our tent that we had our merch at, and they said they were looking for the band from Cadet, and we said, hey, that's us. And it was just really cool that people knew that. Like, I didn't know who these people were. I don't know how that word got out. I just thought that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, there was just people interested that there was a band from their area playing at that show.
It was super cool. I think, and don't quote me on this, I think we are the first band from Cadet to ever play Point
I
Fest.
definitely wouldn't quote you on that because I don't know.
I don't know if that's true, but I feel like it might be.
I mean, it's not far off there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a possibility that you guys are the only ones. So like, how did you guys get on Point Fest?
So we entered the Road to Point Fest competition with Pops.
Okay.
I think we were on the second round, or was it
First.
We were on the first round. Got second place in the competition, and then we kind of forgot about it for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then Chris actually messaged us later on and said, hey, I'm throwing runner-ups on the set. Do you guys want to be on it? And we said, well, yeah. Well, yeah, we're going to do it.
Chris is a cool dude.
He's a cool dude.
For real.
We talked to him a couple times. Obviously, when we're there, we're usually playing and mingling with others, so I don't really get a lot of time to talk to Chris, but I love the guy. He's cool. If he hears this, shoot me a message. Tell me you love me.
And so, like, how was your guys' experience getting to, be a small band from a small town? How was it getting to experience playing at one of the bigger festivals around here?
I mean, you think that you'd be nervous, like being up there, being like your first like really big show, like opening for like all these really high-profile bands like Incubus and Coheed and everybody else who was on it. But I remember getting up there, and even though there was a bunch of people, more than we've ever played to, I was just excited and just overjoyed and thrilled to be able to just play what we've worked so hard to accomplish in front of people, and especially whenever everybody was just going nuts over it. It just is the best feeling that you could ever think about.
We were the second band of the day to play, and we definitely still had 100 plus out in the crowd, and it was awesome. And after the set, so many people came up to us and said they walked in the gate and heard us from the gate and had to come over, and that's awesome to me. I got to take a picture with a dad and his 2 kids, and it made me feel famous for a minute. He probably looked us up later and he's like, oh, well, these guys aren't famous. But still, that picture exists, and if for any reason you're listening to this, I want that picture, man.
There you go. And so you guys ended up at Point Fest, and you've done plenty of other shows since then, but you guys talked about your very first show was at one of the Point Fests, or not Point Fest, one of the Notes for Hopes.
Yeah,
which is why we're here.
3 years ago, man, our first show.
I still love that show.
It was a great show, out in the park.
It's a cool thing to hear that, because I've heard that a few times now, because me and Keith have actually, me and Keith are actually really good friends, and I'm actually kind of doing more work with Notes for Hope now outside of just doing these interviews, and I'm going to continue to, because it's a huge cause to me. It's definitely, I relate to a lot of the stuff that we're trying to prevent with the organization, so it's very near and dear to me. I actually played the very first Notes for Hope with them. It wasn't my very first show, but that's one thing that Keith and I have talked about, was a lot of bands' very first shows have been Notes for Hope. A lot of the people around here, and that's pretty cool that you guys were one of them. I remember that year also that you guys played. I didn't play that day because it was the 2-day event. That was the that would have been the 6th Notes for Hope. You guys played the day before I played. I ended up playing a solo set the day after, and I also was at the time the singer of Holding Ground, so I played the day after. But I attended and did some work that day, and I saw you guys, and I actually found a quote about you guys, your performance, and I want to. You guys already know about the quote because it's on your page, or it's a review. And I actually want to hear what your opinion is on it. And I actually want to comment on it myself. Was ultra high energy performance every time, ripping riffs and great dynamic singing and blistering beats. And let me just say, true dat.
Thank you.
So what do you guys have to say about that? Like, is that kind of the goal? Are you kind of going for blistering beats? Are you going for the ripping riffs? Are you going for the dynamic singing and just the all-around high energy? Is that kind of the vibe you're going with?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That's 100% what we want to go with. I love reading reviews. They're my favorite thing in the world. We had a guy write an article one time, and it made my head explode. My head's still big from this. He wrote a review that said, my highs are that of Randy Blythe and my lows are that of Chris Motionless. And that was like...
He was being nice.
he was being nice. I agree. 100% those guys are better than I am.
I'm just kidding. You do have very good vocals.
But those guys are better than I am, 100%. But being compared to them, that's freaking awesome. I love hearing it's the most unhinged set they've seen in a while. I've heard that a couple times.
So I kind of commented on your guys' first show. Like, how did it feel for you guys? Like, I was a spectator, but like for you guys being on the stage, that was your first. Was that your guys' first ever performance individually ever, or was that just you as a band?
As a band.
Okay.
Well, for me.
As a band, it was our first actual musical performance.
That was your first musical performance at all, wasn't it?
Yeah, music performance. Yeah, it was.
I thought we did like a garage show or something.
Yeah, but that
doesn't count.
That's also where we practice.
Yeah.
So like, how was that experience for you guys? Like, did you have some fears going in, being your first show together? Did you have some kinks that you ended up working out later?
We were
like
definitely a lot more nervous than we are now. For first show, we didn't really move much. Also, there was a guy shooting the camera who kept like giving hand signs. And I was trying to move around a little bit, and I thought he was telling me to stop moving. So I stood there the rest of the set.
Oh, no.
I thought he was trying to shoot. And now I asked him after the set, and he's like, no, I was talking to the other guy. I'm like, well, son of a bitch.
You see, back when I was in Holding Ground, that was actually our first show as a band also. And the funny thing was we actually had our first show booked at Nasty Fest near Caledonia at the... It was the drive-in theater, and that was our first one for the band. We were actually slotted to play the week after the Notes for Hope.
Nice.
The sixth one, and I went ahead and talked to Keith because Keith was looking for a backup band because somebody had fallen out, and I was like, well, this would be perfect like practice so that we could kind of just get it out of our system and kind of work out the kinks before the show, because this is the first one we've ever done. and it was a really cool thing. So it's cool that we did something like that, and we weren't the only ones. That wasn't our first show as a band.
I will say to Keith, if you ever want to do a cover with me again, can we please practice that first? 'Cause that didn't go as well as we'd hoped.
It never does, man. You have no idea how many shows that I've done with like Keith and some of our other friends that we've just been playing shows with for years. We've just got up on each other's sets and done covers and stuff, and some of them have been complete train wrecks because we didn't practice, and some of them we didn't practice together at all. In fact, the idea came at the venue when we were about to play, and it ended up turning out fantastic. So you win some, you lose some.
He messaged me the day before and he said, hey, do you want to do a Day to Remember cover? And I said, yeah, sure, man. And he goes, all right, I'm like 90% sure it's on the set, I'll let you know. He didn't let me know.
Which song was it?
What was it? Was it Downfall of Us All?
Yeah.
I think it was.
Downfall all of us all.
Yeah, so
Okay.
So he started playing it, and I didn't know if he still wanted me up there. And then, like, a quarter into the song, he actually tells me to come up, and I'm like, okay, all right, you do still want me here.
I thought that was part of the act because I was spectating.
I had no idea it was still happening, and it was cool. It was really cool. It just
yeah, it looked like he just snatched you out of the crowd.
I didn't expect it, man. It wasn't planned.
Hell yeah. So of course, you guys, your first show was Notes for Hope 6, and now you guys are here. You're going to be playing Notes for Hope 8. Once again, that's the 8th annual Notes for Hope. It's happening September 9th at 12 p.m. at the Park Hills Underground. It's $12 in advance, $10 at the door. There will be craft vendors outside. It's an all-ages event, and that's, of course, again, happening at the Park Hills Underground. There are drinks. They do have a bar. Buy yourself some drinks. They are fantastic. Of course, there is no food at the location. However, they do allow food in. Unfortunately, this year we do not have food vendors coming in. However, there are plenty of eateries nearby downtown that are fantastic. There's several delivery services, including DoorDash and stuff like that. Domino's is right around the corner. They'll deliver. Come have a good time, have some drinks, hang out with these guys. You guys can, of course, catch them, and you can catch Gregory Camp, The Doubted, Holding Ground, Skylines The Limit, The Stars Go Out, Degenerate and Deezyman, Y, Juge, Ben Diesel, Party Crashers, King of Vagabonds, Alex Casnell and the board of directors, and of course our buddy Keith. And then you can, of course, come say hi to me. I'll be there emceeing all day, announcing these guys and everybody else, and we're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be a great day. A ton of music, ton of crafts, ton of memories to be made, and it's all for the good of mental health and suicide prevention, and it's going to be a fantastic day. I'm so ready for it.
Super pumped, man.
So yeah, it's definitely. You guys got any other shows coming up besides this one, or?
I have something in the works I'm not allowed to talk about even with my band members.
Okay,
but it's going to be a big one.
Cool. That's awesome.
In quotations.
In quotations.
You guys talked about there could be a second album coming out before long.
It is in production currently.
We're working on it.
Okay.
I can't really say too much now, other than it is miles heavier.
Cool.
And it's going to be, hopefully, give me a good album. Give me a good album to compare it to. Give me something quick.
Party in the USA, Miley Cyrus.
Yes, it's gonna be our Party in the USA, Miley Cyrus.
Hell yeah. Can't wait to hear it, guys. So where can they find you on the socials, and where can they find your music?
Our music's on everything. You can get music from, probably even the orange YouTube, probably on there somewhere. We are on Facebook, Instagram. I don't know how to work Twitter. I know that makes me sound
X now.
Whatever.
They also have Threads now too.
Okay, I don't know what any of that is.
Threads kind of works. It's similar to Twitter, but it runs off of Instagram, so you can kind of like literally sign up by just the push of a button, and then basically all it is Instagram, except it's only Twitter-based like posts.
We might have that in the future, but right now we are just on Instagram and Facebook.
We had a TikTok, but we bailed on that.
You bailed on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the time being, it may come back.
Gotcha. All right, guys. Well, it's been a great time hanging out with you and talking about Notes for Hope, mental health, your music, your shows, your experiences, and it's been cool hanging out with you guys. And I look forward to hearing you guys at Notes for Hope and hanging out with you. I look forward to listening to the new album when you release it and to see where you guys go in the future.
I appreciate you having us.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. That was another episode of the Midwest Mixtape Podcast at the Barn, sponsored by BetterHelp. I am JSTN. This was At My Worst, and we're signing off.